I've always had a love-hate relationship with Xmas. As a kid, from Boxing Day onwards, I was always clinically depressed because no more presents. As an adult, repetitive Christmas songs triggered me, and I came to either hate the whole season or just got wasted to avoid it. But in recent years, I've used the magic of film to help me deal with the rabid greed and commercialism that attempts to destroy this magical time of year, even more than the Christians destroyed the meaning and magic of the pagan celebration of the winter solstice that Christmas is based on. Anyway, this list is in ascending order, as my top non-shit Christmas film will come as no surprise to many people. But first, what do I mean by non-shit? I mean no saccharine sweet schmaltz, false happiness, emotional manipulation, and everything working out for the best, which is why my top non-shit Christmas film is obviously Love Actually. Is it fuck? Even Laura Linney's tits can't save this empty, soulless, insincere, manipulative piece of excrement. No, the top film is, of course, Die Hard. There's little I can say about this film that hasn't already been said. It's an absolute masterclass in screenwriting and direction. Setup and payoff follows setup and payoff. The characters are well written and well acted. Even Willis, who at this point in his career wasn't exactly the best actor in the world, but his charm and charisma is enough to get the job done. The pacing is perfect and the action is technically flawless. Not only is it possibly the greatest action film ever made, it's pretty close to being the greatest film ever made, full stop. To those of you who aren't dead inside, number 2 won't come as much of a surprise either. It's Lethal Weapon, from the same producer as Die Hard, made a year earlier. Again, a phenomenal script with strong characterization and possibly the best chemistry between two actors ever. Bags of charisma from Gibson and Danny Glover, and like Die Hard, it spawned a million imitations and sequels that coasted on the chemistry of its stars and little else. It's interesting that in the 80s, these kind of action film franchises were sneered at by film critics for being lowbrow and production line. But compared to the likes of John Wick and the Fast and Furious, they look like Citizen fucking Kane. Number 3 is 1996's A Long Kiss Goodnight. Despite being written by Lethal Weapon writer Shane Black, it's not in the same league as the first two films. It's a little bit too convoluted, and it's not sure whether it's a Tarantino-style neo-noir or a balls-to-the-floor 80s-style action film. Something Black would rectify later in his career when he started directing. However, it is very violent and very funny, with excellent action scenes, and Samuel Jackson and Gina Davis have excellent chemistry. The plot sees Davis's amnesiac housewife hire dirtbag private detective Jackson to find out who she really is, which triggers a domino effect of assassins and shady government agents coming out of the woodwork to kill her and him, culminating in the duo uncovering a sinister conspiracy. The plot is largely irrelevant though. It's just an excuse for some excellent action sequences directed by Rennie Harlin, who also did Die Hard 2 and at the time was actually married to Gina Davis. A la Interior, or for all you dumb NPCs, Inside. I don't want to say too much about this, but it is one of the most brutal and sadistic horror films ever made. Unsurprisingly, it's French, and at the time, 2008, they seem to have a bit of a monopoly on these like sadistic, brutal horror films. An incredibly simple plot, incredibly well executed. It's about a pregnant woman trapped alone in a house on Christmas Eve and terrorized by a mysterious woman who wants the baby and will literally stop at nothing to get it. Although a horror film, it is also one of the best confined thrillers ever made, and at 82 minutes, it doesn't fuck around. Finally, we have 1984's Trances. A bit of a stretch as a Christmas film, but I'll get to that in a minute. Most people would call this a Terminator ripoff, but it is so much more and less than that. For a start, there are no robots, just a 23rd century cop who travels back to 1984 Los Angeles to stop a cult leader who has the power to turn his followers into zombies, known as trances. Despite being a PG, at least in America, it's full of swearing and there are some very creepy and disturbing bad guys. And in particular, and the reason this film's in the list, is a fantastic sequence in a shopping mall with an unstoppable zombie Santa Claus, which literally ends in tears. It was written by Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo, who also wrote The Rocketeer. And like pretty much every other 80s film, there are setups, payoffs galore, but Trances has a couple of very clever twists. The first one is that travelling back in time can only be achieved by taking over the body of an ancestor, which poses quite a few awkward moral questions, but they're just simply not dealt with. Well, at least until the TV series Travellers came out 30 years later. Transit stars Tim Thomerson, the most underrated and talented actor of all time, who for some bizarre reason spent his whole very long career doing low-budget schlock like this. It also features a 20-year-old Helen Hunt in a very early role, and they have great chemistry together, and it's a really fun film. Made with a very low budget, the ideas and characters and the charisma of the two leads are strong enough to keep you interested, despite the inconsistent direction. It was a reasonable success and over the years has become quite a cult classic. It also spawned 5 straight-to-video sequels of indeterminate quality. Okay, that's it for my top 5 non-shit Christmas films. If you have alternatives, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. And Merry Kiss My Ass.